Do you need to know if your coffee can be too fine for an espresso machine? Well, we have researched this question and have some answers for you. It is essential to know if you're grinding your coffee too fine for an espresso machine if you value a consistent tasting espresso. Coffee can be too fine for an espresso machine. If the coffee is too fine, the taste may vary significantly between espresso shots. This video will learn if coffee can be too fine for an espresso machine. We will also cover other interesting related questions like, do you need special coffee for espresso? And does a finer grind make stronger coffee? Keep watching to learn more. When you grind coffee for an espresso machine, you may be curious what level or grind makes the best espresso. Many think that the finer you grind the coffee beans, the better the flavor will be. There is some truth to this, but it isn't the whole picture. When you grind coffee beans, you increase the surface area of the beans. The additional surface area allows more coffee to contact the water, enabling the extra flavor to seep into the water. This may cause you to reason that a finer coffee means a stronger espresso. This is true to a point, but if your coffee is ground too fine, it may make it weaker. To know why this happens, you have to understand the physics at play here. When coffee is ground too fine, something interesting happens. The fine particles of coffee can clump together to form a waterproof layer. When the water is introduced, instead of flowing straight through the coffee beans, it may take an irregular path through the ground beans, potentially missing a portion of the coffee grounds. The solution to produce a consistently similar cup of espresso is to grind the beans fine, but not so fine that they can pack together, form a watertight layer. So if you need to have your coffee ground more coarse to prevent irregular cups of espresso, how fine should you grind your coffee? When looking for the right grind level for your coffee, something to keep in mind is that a finer grind does produce a more flavorful espresso as long as it isn't so fine that it impedes the flow of water. When coffee grounds are too fine, they will resemble a fine powder. You want a fine grind, but you will want to avoid a fine powder consistency. If you use an automatic coffee grinder, you should not set it to its most fine setting. Try setting it to one step more coarse than maximum fine to get the right grind level. If you're using a hand grinder, keep an eye on the texture of the ground coffee. Be sure to adjust the grind setting if it starts to approach a fine powder. You do not need a special coffee to make espresso. You can use any coffee bean to make a cup of espresso. This may have you wondering why companies sell coffee beans and espresso blends. The reason for this is consistency. Coffee beans are roasted before they are shipped to your store. The longer the beans are roasted, the darker the roast on the beans. Espresso blends often use only the darkest roast of coffee bean. The selection of only the darkest roasted beans has to do with carbon dioxide. Roasted coffee beans contain carbon dioxide that is released when it is brewed. This creates a foam on top of your espresso called crema. Crema adds complex flavors to your espresso but has a catch. The carbon dioxide in the beans slowly decreases over 3 weeks after they are roasted. Darker roasted coffee beans have more carbon dioxide released before brewing, and so do not change flavors over time. If you use coffee beans with a lighter roast, the espresso may have a different level of crema. As the coffee beans age, espresso brands select darker roasted beans for espresso blends to combat these inconsistencies. If you grind your coffee finer, it will create a stronger coffee. However, as mentioned previously, if your coffee grind is so fine that it prevents water from flowing through properly, it may make a weaker coffee. If you desire the strongest coffee possible, try grinding the coffee fine, but not so fine that water can fully flow through it. The following coffee grinders allow for a high level of control over how fine you grind your coffee beans. Creating a fine ground coffee without it being too fine is essential for a strong and consistent cup of espresso. The Cuisinart Conical Bur coffee grinder gives the power of how fine you want your coffee ground to you. With 31 settings from coarse to extra fine, you will be able to strictly control your coffee beans' coarseness. With this product, if you want the strongest espresso possible, try setting the machine to level 30 or 20. If you try to grind the coffee at level 31, you may find that it is too fine to allow the water to properly flow through the grounds, weakening your espresso's taste. This product also comes with an elevating rubber mat and a cleaning brush to make cleaning up afterward easy. Its digital display also has a one-touch grinding button that makes grinding your coffee beans the perfect level simple. The Breville automatic coffee grinder is a great coffee grinder for controlling how ground you want your coffee beans. This coffee grinder has 2 different speed settings for adjusting how fast it grinds the coffee beans. It can grind coffee beans fine in the fastest setting in 10 to 15 seconds. This speed is due to its 350-watt motor that packs enough power for a fast fine grind. This product also has a pulse setting to increase how fine your coffee grounds incrementally. This pulse setting will allow you to have a great deal of control over how coarse your coffee grounds are, Remember not to overgrind your coffee beans to ensure a strong, rich taste. Additionally, the Breville automatic coffee grinder works well for herbs, nuts, grains, and beans, making it an excellent product for any kitchen. This video shows that you could grind coffee too fine for an espresso machine. Ground coffee that is too fine will not allow water to flow correctly, removing consistency from your espresso. We also learned that you don't need a special coffee for espresso. However, dark roasts are preferred because they are more consistent over time when making espresso. Remember that fine ground coffee will make a stronger espresso unless it is too finely ground. We are going to end this video right away. If you have any query or information to share, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.